Hi there, welcome back. This is my 1980 Fiat 2000 124. It's the 2-liter fuel injected thing. And this is another video in my Resurrecting the Car series. Where we left it last time was we got the engine running and it was making a loud noise. Couldn't figure out what it was. Did some bore scoping. Looked like it was number 2 cylinder that had been hitting valves, and we pulled the head, and I was actually doing it from over on this side, and it actually showed where the number 2 cylinder was kind of moving independently of number 3. In other words, 2 and 3 are supposed to be moving together, and I could rotate the crankshaft so 2 would move a little bit before 3 would move, or no, I had that the other way around. 3 would move a little bit before 2, and 2 had a lot of play in it. So in other words, that was trash. So the engine came out. I pulled the engine out and found out that the number 2 connecting rod bearing had seized, spun and seized on the crank, and trashing that connecting rod and trashing the crank. So I replaced the crankshaft. I got a used unit from eBay, used unit off of eBay. It mic'd out pretty good, and I tried it out and it was okay. I looked at it, checked it out, and it was okay. So I put it back in. The engine went back together with new bearings, new seals, new water pump. I kept the pistons and rings because they looked like they were in perfect condition, and the head looked in really good condition. So the shims are the same, the pistons are the same, rings are the same. I had to replace the number 2 connecting rod because it was damaged also, but the engine's kind of been refurbished a bit. I also pulled out the transmission at the same time and replaced the synchros, the seals and gaskets, and the input shaft bearing of the transmission was also bad. The clutch looked perfect, so I put that back in. So I have some new parts, some old parts, but I'm basically ready to try this again. Just like I did last time, I primed it until fuel came out of here, and I'm ready to crank it and see if it'll start. So here goes. All right, put in the clutch. I got oil light. Oh, there's something. I may have dirty injectors again. That oil light is not going out. I'm going to troubleshoot that first. That's important. All right, stay with me. We got signs of life. We're good. Welcome back. This is the 1980 Fiat, bringing her back to life. So yesterday, we ran the engine for the first time, and it ran definitely very poorly, which is obviously a problem. But my biggest problem, bigger than the engine running badly, was that oil light did not go out. Oil pressure is really important, even for an engine that's not running well. So I had to fix the oil pressure problem first. So the first thing I took a look at is the oil pressure sender, which is right here. I don't know if you can see it there. My finger's on it, and I pulled the wire off of there, made the light go out. Okay, so that means the idiot light's working. So then I pulled the sensor out, this little guy, and I just simply put some shop air in here and check continuity between the spade connector and the body of the thing. And with only a few psi, like maybe 10 psi of pressure, a shot pressure into there, that switch opened up. So in other words, it's just an open or close thing. It's not an analog thing. It's just got 2 states, open or closed. So it's just a few psi, a few pounds of pressure, that switch opens and would have turned that light off. So I'm confident that the sender was working. So all right, not looking so good. So then I just left the sender out and put a little hose in the hole and ran the hose out over here on the ground, cranked it for a few seconds. Oh, I disconnected the coil, 'cause I knew at this point we were having a big problem. And I just stuck a little plastic rubber hose in there and just kind of ran it out here on the ground, cranked it over for a few seconds, and nothing came out. So then I needed to know what really is my oil situation. So I opened up this valve galley in here, and there's no oil in there. So okay, very confident there's no oil getting through the engine, but why? So the first thing I did was I took off the timing belt and I checked this shaft. Is that turning? Yeah, it's turning. And through this hole, there was a cap here. This cap sits in this hole, and through that hole you can actually see the end of the oil pump shaft turning when this shaft turns. Okay, so I could turn this pulley, which was connected via the timing belt, watch the shaft of the oil pump turn through that hole. So the oil pump was turning, at least the shaft was turning, but I was still getting no oil pressure. We're at a totally mechanical connection here. There's nothing fancy going on. If the shaft is turning, there should be oil coming out. Why is oil not coming out? Well, I came over here, I took the pan off and the oil pump out, and I just set the oil pump in the little bucket of oil here, and simply turning this thing ever so slightly with my fingers. I don't know if I can be able to do it now, which ways I want to turn. It wants to turn clockwise. Turning a little bit, well, I'm not going to be able to show it here. But anyway, it didn't take much turning to get oil to come out. It's not doing it right now. Anyway, I only got one hand. Okay, so I could just simply turn it a little bit by hand and I would see oil come out. So okay, the pump is fine. What is the deal? I was scratching my head, I couldn't figure it out. So I took a look at the oil pan. Now this, let's see if I can take it out here in the sun so you can see this. There. There's a circular shape right here. Very circular shape. Now, let's grab this oil pump and just, well, dripping oil everywhere. Let's bring it over here for just a second. Oil pump sits right there. Now, clumsy to do with one hand. So what was happening, this is where the pickup for the oil pump sits right there. What was happening was that the bottom of the oil pan is damaged. I don't want to do that because it's going to dump all the oil out. But the car hit something. You can see there that it got hit, and the bottom of the oil pan was pushing up against that area and starving the pump. The pump was cavitating simply because the oil pan was blocking the oil. So I got a new oil pan coming, and we'll try it again in a few days. Stay tuned.